Microsoft is finally abandoning Bethesda. Took them honestly long enough to figure out that Bethesda is a complete waste of oxygen. I wondered what it was first. The fact that they had to pay effectively $8 billion to buy Starfield, a game that currently is enjoyed by roughly 4.5 people because one of them is in a coma. What was it? All of the disasters that they have done? Was it the Fallout 4 anniversary that they completely messed up? Or maybe it was the Fallout TV series and Season 2 now being a massive flop. One of the greatest flops ever, okay? This is worse than when Henry Cavill quit being the Witcher star, okay? It is unbelievably bad. And Microsoft is figuring it out. And also, by the way, mandatory bi-weekly reminder that Game Pass is actually doing really good. The price hikes, the lowest players, the lowest sales of Xboxes ever, it's actually all good. Don't worry about it. Don't think too hard. Your head is gonna hurt. Ooh.
Damn!
Accurate.
What's up, space pirates? This is your admiral, the audaciously adamant Dr. Disaster. And after buying up so many studios like Bethesda and Activision Blizzard, there was a time when Xbox thought they could just cruise their way to profits.
That's easy!
However, and this might not
Well, to be fair, that had worked for literally decades.
even be their fault per se. This might just be a natural function, something that just happens naturally when one company purchases another, but there were elements of these studios which were immediately eroded after they were purchased. When they lose their independence, studios lose a part of their identity. They lose a chunk of their souls. Even if it is subtle, having to suddenly follow guidelines like this one right here, well, that alters the trajectory of how game development happens. It makes
Microsoft cautions developers to avoid curvy female characters. That's my Microsoft right there. That's my favorite part about how I choose if a game is good or not. If they say something like this, you know you're not buying GTA 6 probably.
them different, and that doesn't always work out.
There's no going back. You've changed things.
As an example of what I'm talking about, and nobody has really discussed this yet, but Xbox finished its purchase of Activision Blizzard in 2023, and considering development times for Call of Duty games, this means that the full weight of the Microsoft influence has just begun on the Call of Duty games, which is an extremely bad sign considering that Black Ops 7 had all the charm of an exposure to a deadly pathogen. And
yeah, Black Ops 7 is the worst ever selling Call of Duty game. And the funny part is all of the woke defenders, the allies and stuff, they're like, oh, it's actually not a big deal, you know, it still sold a lot of copies. Yes. Because we obviously judge how successful something is by how many copies it sells, and ignore previous metrics, and most importantly, ignore how much it costs to make the thing that you are selling. Because obviously the only thing that matters is, completely arbitrary, but it sold a lot of copies.
gamers avoided the hell out of it.
Everybody out!
And all of this has culminated in a situation where Xbox is not making anywhere near the money that
The fact that Starfield grenades are just useless is the probably hilarious thing ever.
they originally planned with these big acquisitions. Bethesda's big release after the Xbox acquisition was Starfield, which was just kind of bland and soulless, and its sales numbers were solid for a
Kinda. No, the sales numbers were probably not solid. That's the funniest thing, because everyone just a lot of people got it on Game Pass.
console exclusive with a day one Game Pass release, but not solid enough considering the money that was pumped into these studios. We've talked about all of the layoffs that took place last year at the company, but now news has come out suggesting that the mismanagement of everything under the Xbox umbrella has led to some potentially good games being canceled. The former game director
Elder Scrolls Online is not a good game. It literally made the Daedra, and all of those things gay. Canonically, the Elder Scrolls Online made the gods trans. There's literally quests that kind of make that they don't kind of, but they literally make you gay. There's quests like that in the game. It is obscene what they have done to the game. Like, Elder Scrolls Online is one of the worst things ever. It's a microtransaction hell. Like, exactly what you would expect from Bethesda.
of Elder Scrolls Online has now
But Elder Scrolls Online is more ZeniMax. But still, you know, same cloth, different cuts.
publicly stated that he left the company specifically because they killed a game that he had been waiting his entire life to make.
And what a game did he make? He made a game where you have 4 buttons to press, then you shift and press 4 more buttons if you're lucky. Yay. And there's an technically 10, because there's like an ultimate that you can place once every 2 minutes, and some other skills have like, 30-second cool. There's 1 button to press. Well, what a time to be alive. Making such a great game. And the funniest part about Elder Scrolls Online, by the way, is it was actually going up. Unironically, Elder Scrolls Online was one of the bigger MMORPGs online. And then they made the everyone is the same class now update. And that thing just axed it. It cut the player base in half, because I have covered it. I cover most important things about Elder Scrolls Online, because, Bethesda adjacent things. How can I resist, boys, at the end of the day? By the way, like the video, like it right now, subscribe if you haven't already. Takes less than a second, and it has impact. This is one of those rare moments when you actually have all the power. If you like the video, 2 more people are going to see it, so thank you for everyone who does. And if you think this stuff is important, then definitely like and subscribe right now. Takes less than a second. Thank you, everyone. I do appreciate it. But Elder Scrolls Online has been a mess. But it was going up slowly, because they did add a lot of content, honestly, over the years. But the moment that they introduced that everyone is the same class and there's no class identities or whatever, it just gutted the player base. It just completely obliterated it. It was one of the worst, no, it was literally the worst thing that they had done to the game. Over a month, they just lost half their players, and it's still going down. And one of the funniest things also about the Elder Scrolls Online was the fact that they were like, we're not doing really good. What could we do? Oh, let's steal from our competition. And then they literally stole Torghast from World of Warcraft. Yes, Torghast. The most hated thing in all of World of Warcraft's history, potentially. From the worst expansion that ever existed in its wake. They stole the worst thing about the game. And they added it to Elder Scrolls Online, which was also absolutely hilarious.
This is bullshit. This is
Xbox.
Yeah, boy. There we go.
Let's take a look at what Xbox has done with ZeniMax after acquiring them, leading to the cancellation of this game, which was presumably either a Fallout Online game or something else that was...
Oh boy, another Fallout Online game. Can't wait to have more 76 slop.
Tied to the Elder Scrolls, another Elder Scrolls Online title. I suppose it could have been a new property entirely, but anyway, we are going to read about Microsoft blowing this project apart and just screwing everything up, though it is worth mentioning.
I mean, honestly, Microsoft cutting a new Bethesda IP is kind of the most base thing ever. Again, I am a true Bethesda fan, which means I do not want Bethesda making another game ever again. I just wish some homeless crack addict from California took their IPs and made something new with them. At least it would be better. Bethesda has proven because of Starfield that they are literally worse than AI-generated content with 3 tile sets. That is hard to do even if you try.
That ZeniMax was plenty busy screwing things up even before they were bought out. Fallout 76 was one of the worst, most botched releases ever. I've heard that they eventually fixed it up so that it's playable, but I never went back and gave it a try. That game came out a few years before Microsoft gobbled the company up, so yeah, they were certainly capable of effing things up all on their own. That being said, Xbox really does seem to be in a bit of a pickle when it comes to juggling everything that they have going on at the company. The important context here is that Game Pass is not the massively huge success that they wanted it, in fact, needed it to be.
I have been saying this forever. Game Pass was never successful. Game Pass is not successful.
To recoup the billions and billions of dollars that they have spent acquiring all of the properties that are now under their umbrella. They were banking on Game Pass being the ultimate money maker. Somebody at the top of Xbox was convinced that this was the way forward, and they put all their eggs into that basket. They were expecting to have 100 million subscribers to Game Pass by the end of the decade, but they have stagnated in their numbers. Their target was 50 million by the end of 2024, but at the moment, here in 2026, they are still hovering somewhere around 35 million, at least based on the latest available information. They are way behind, and the moves that they are making now as a company are very short-sighted, and that stinks of a company desperate to make money in the immediate in order to stay afloat. They have given up the console exclusivity for their games, which has caused their console sales to fall off a cliff. You may remember...
Now, granted, to be fair, their console sales were already falling off a cliff, so the exclusivity thing actually didn't do a lot of damage. Oh, man. But then, remember, everything is an Xbox. This is an Xbox. This is an Xbox. That right there, you know what's what, boys, is an Xbox.
How they got beaten
Not because it doesn't function.
out back on Black Friday by some random game console that few people have ever heard about. They've also laid off a shitload of employees and canceled a ton of games, which we are going to talk about now, but the important context to remember is that Xbox seems really desperate for cash. And of course, yes, they are tied to Microsoft, so it's not like they're in any danger of bankruptcy or anything like that. That's not what I'm claiming, but what this really seems like is the executive...
Well, to be fair, you are you are still an independent company technically doing independent shit. You're tied to Microsoft, yes, which means they will bail you out, but you technically still can run out of money and go bankrupt, because maybe Microsoft just chooses to let you fall. There's no reason for them not to. Well, there is many, many, many reasons for them not to. But you get the idea. You can still go bankrupt even if you're tied to a parent company that has literal trillions in the bank account.
At the top of Xbox, knowing full well that if things don't turn around soon, they are going to lose their jobs. Anyhow, let's read about this project that was canceled. This article is from Games Radar. It says, former Elder Scrolls Online boss Matt Firor has finally discussed his abrupt departure from ZeniMax Online, confirming that Microsoft's massive wave of layoffs and cancellations, which saw the end of his budding MMO codenamed Project Blackbird, is to blame. In a message posted to Blue Sky on January 1st, Firor said he's not directly involved in any projects founded by former ZeniMax Online members, though he is advising some of them informally. But I'm personally more interested in the answer to the second most common question he's apparently received. why did he leave? The most obvious explanation is the correct one. He wrote, Project Blackbird was the game I had waited my entire career to create, and having it canceled led to my resignation. My heart and thoughts are always with the impacted team members, many of whom I had worked 20 plus years with, and all of whom were the most dedicated, amazingly talented, blah blah blah.
Okay, so they're all garbage at their jobs. Got it. It's a good thing that they got fired. Got it. Thankfully, this thing got canceled because it would have been another classic Bethesda disappointment. Got it. Microsoft's doing God's work, honestly, sometimes.
Now, with all of that said, I really personally enjoyed Elder Scrolls Online, the work that this guy did. It remains one of the 2 MMOs that I actually put any real time into. Of course, I played World of Warcraft, that was the other one. I played that from the days of Burning Crusade all the way to Cataclysm.
Based.
But when ESO came out, I convinced a few of my friends to give it a try with me, and while we didn't like it as much as WoW, we did play it for the better part of a year until we had gone through a large chunk of the content that was released at launch. I'm not a big MMO player, but I respect what Elder Scrolls Online accomplished, and I would have been very interested in seeing what the game director had done with a game that he considered to be something he had been waiting to make his entire life. So this seems fairly tragic to me, but it really seems to be a casualty of the Game Pass mentality. The problem is that by taking away a profit motive from their own studios, by ensuring that all of these studios get paid by virtue of having their game included in the Game Pass catalog, it has led to some extremely shoddy game design. There have been some real stinkers that have released in the past few years under the Xbox umbrella, games that have no business being as meh.
I absolutely love Starfield. Okay, let's look at this. A single solar panel. You know what's futuristic? Solar panels, said probably Todd Howard. Let's make one solar panel here because we are supporting. Oh, man. Starfield is such a disappointment, it's insane.
Under the Xbox umbrella, games that have no business being as meh as they ended up being. Doom the Dark Ages, for example, as a concept was pretty
Huge
cool,
fail.
and on paper it looks like it should have attracted people into playing it and buying it, but they made it a bare bones skeleton of a game compared to previous entries in that series, cutting out all of the multiplayer content, and then they still raised its price from $60, which was what they charged for the previous games, and they raised it up to the new Xbox standard of $70. Black Ops 7 is another example. It was an AI-riddled catastrophe that had no business being made, but it seems...
Look at this. Look at this. They just have a fucking lamppost there for no reason. A lamppost.
Business being made, but it seems a lot of developers at Xbox have gotten so comfortable now that Game Pass is out that they think they can just make slop and everything will be fine.
Well, they have been making slop for literally more than a decade and kind of has been fine, so... I mean, listen, the Game Pass people are gonna pay those $20 a month, $40 a month, $50 a month. They don't know better. They probably think it's still a good deal. It was never a good deal. For $5 a month, honestly, even then it's kind of... Well, then it was kind of okay-ish. But, you know, everything above that was just a ripoff.
To be honest, the Game Pass experiment comes off as a scathing indictment of socialism or communism or whatever the hell you want to call it. Once you remove a profit motive, people just start skating by. It's human nature. But I'm not going to get into all that right now. We're not going to get into that discussion. Suffice to say, Game Pass is what I blame for losing the chance to play games like this Project Blackbird title. Xbox has bought out a series of studios and IPs, enforcing their own
Wait, how does this design of anything make sense?
codes onto them, altering them in subtle ways, including the Game Pass model, which is often used as a blanket excuse for games to fail to sell units. And this is done in
I mean, listen, remember, they called Sound of Midnight a success, even though it probably sold less than 10,000 copies. Oh man, it was so garbage.
internally as well. It isn't just game journalists using that excuse to defend games like Avowed, but anyhow, all of this has caused shoddy work and doesn't exactly entice people to join Game Pass. They announced that they raised prices on the service a few months ago, which is another sign of desperation, and while it may help in the short term, it will only drive
I absolutely love signs of desperation from companies like Microsoft, Xbox doing a bad job, Bethesda, everything, honestly.
more people away. At this stage, I'm not even sure what the executives at Xbox can do. They seem cooked to me, and in fact, in a sane world, they would have already been fired. But I'm gonna leave it there. Xbox is in a downward spiral, it seems. What do you think they need to do to climb out of it? Do you even think it's possible? Drop your thoughts into the comment section below.
I mean, it's always possible, I guess. Just get lucky or something like that. But in general, I mean, they are absolutely cooked in the short term and probably in the long term. Let's be real. These companies are filled with woke individuals that don't care about anything. So that's just how it's gonna go. There's nothing that can be done. Anyway, that was Dr. Disaster 10 out of 10. Bye.